Both international and inland a vessel at anchor will show blank. Ball. Both international and inland when two power-driven vessels are crossing, the vessel which has the other to starboard must keep out of the way if blank. The situation involves risk of collision. International only, in which situation do the rules require both vessels to change course? Two power-driven vessels meeting head-on. Both international and inland a towing vessel 35 meters in length with a tow 100 meters astern must show a minimum of how many masthead lights? 2. Both international and inland barges being towed at night must exhibit navigation lights blank at all times. Both international and inland while underway in fog, you hear the fog signal of another vessel ahead. If a risk of collision exists, you must blank. Slow to bear steerageway and navigate with caution. Both international and inland. What does the word breadth mean? Greatest width. Both international and inland, the rules state that vessels may depart from the requirements of the rules when blank necessary to avoid immediate danger. Both international and inland use sight another power-driven vessel dead ahead showing both the red and green side lights. The required action to take would be to blank. Alter course to starboard. Both international and inland a vessel engaged in fishing shall keep out of the way of a vessel blank restricted in her ability to maneuver. Both international and inland. The term power-driven vessel refers to any vessel blank with propelling machinery in use. Both international and inland. Under the rules, any vessel may slacken her speed, stop, or reverse her engines to blank allow more time to assess the situation. Both international and inland. The navigation rules define a vessel not under command as a vessel which blank through some exceptional circumstance is unable to maneuver as required by the rules. Both international and inland. In determining safe speed, all of the following must be taken into account except the blank maximum horsepower of your vessel. Both international and inland. A vessel may exhibit lights other than those prescribed by the rules as long as the additional lights blank do not interfere with the keeping of a proper lookout and cannot be confused with the official required lights. Both international and inland. A power-driven vessel with a 150-meter stern tow shall display blank a towing light above the stern light. Both international and inland. You hear the fog signal of another vessel forward of your beam. Risk of collision may exist. UMUST blank. Take all way off if necessary. Both international and inland. Safe speed is defined as that speed where blank you can take proper and effective action to avoid collision. Both international and inland. Which signal other than a distress signal can be used by a vessel to attract attention? Searchlight beam. Both international and inland. Two power-driven vessels are crossing so as to involve risk of collision. Which statement is true according to the rules? If the stand-on vessel takes action, she shall avoid changing course to port. Inland only. According to the inland navigation rules, what is the meaning of a one-short blast signal used when meeting another vessel? I intend to leave you on my port side. Both international and inland. A vessel is engaged in fishing when blank she is using fishing apparatus which restricts her maneuverability. Both international and inland. If you are operating a stand-on vessel in a crossing situation, you may take action to avoid collision by your maneuver alone. When may this action be taken? When it becomes apparent to you that the giveaway vessel is not taking appropriate action. International only. A vessel displaying 3 red lights in a vertical line is blank constrained by her draft. Both international and inland. A vessel approaching a narrow channel shall blank Avoid crossing the channel if it impedes another vessel navigating in the channel. Both international and inland according to the rules what determines if a vessel is restricted in her ability to maneuver. Whether the nature of the vessel's work limits maneuverability required by the rules. Both international and inland which lights would be required to be shown at night by a vessel which is restricted in her ability to deviate from her course. 3 lights in a vertical line, the highest and lowest red and the middle white. Both international and inland when anchoring a 25-meter vessel at night you must show blank. 1 all-round white light. Both international and inland a vessel showing a green light over a white light in a vertical line above the level of the side lights is blank. Trawling. Both international and inland what is the minimum length of an anchored vessel which is required by the rules to show a white light both forward and aft? 50 meters. Both international and inland a vessel servicing a pipeline during the day shall display blank. 3 black shapes in a vertical line, the highest and lowest are balls, and the middle one is a diamond. Both international and inland the rules state that a vessel overtaking another vessel is relieved of her duty to keep clear when blank. She is passed and clear of the other vessel. Both international and inland which vessel should not impede the navigation of a power-driven vessel? A seaplane. Both international and inland for the purpose of the rules except where otherwise required the term blank. Vessel includes seaplanes. Both international and inland you are on watch in fog. Which vessel is in sight? A vessel that you can see from the bridge. Both international and inland a vessel towing is showing 3 forward white masthead lights in a vertical line. This means that the length of the blank tow is greater than 200 meters. Both international and inland what is not a vessel restricted in her ability to maneuver? A deep draft vessel that can only navigate in a dredged channel. Both international and inland a 22-meter sailing vessel when also being propelled by machinery shall show during daylight hours a blank black cone. Both international and inland a power-driven vessel has on her port side a sailing vessel which is on a collision course. The power-driven vessel is to blank keep clear, passing at a safe distance. Both international and inland a stand-on vessel is blank required to maintain course and speed in a crossing situation but may take action to avoid collision. Both international and inland the term restricted visibility as used in the rules refers blank to any condition where visibility is restricted. Both international and inland which vessel is, as defined by the rules, unable to keep out of the way of another vessel? Vessel restricted in her ability to maneuver. Both international and inland what is a requirement for any action taken to avoid collision? The action must be positive and made in ample time. Both international and inland the steering and sailing rules for vessels in restricted visibility apply to vessels blank navigating in or near an area of restricted visibility. Both international and inland which vessel is underway according to the rules? A purse seiner hauling her nets. Both international and inland which vessel would display a cone apex downward? A vessel proceeding under sail and machinery. Both international and inland a vessel transferring cargo while underway is classified by the rules as a vessel blank restricted in her ability to maneuver. Both international and inland a vessel underway and making way in fog shall sound every 2 minutes blank 1 prolonged blast. Both international and inland which statement is true concerning 2 sailing vessels approaching each other? A sailing vessel overtaking another is the giveaway vessel. both international and inland. When action to avoid a close quarters situation is taken, a course change alone may be the most effective action provided that blank. It is a large course change. In cleaning up an oil spill, straw is an example of a blank. Sorbent. Most minor spills of oil-based products are caused by blank. Human error. Which statement concerning a short splice is true? A short splice is stronger than two lines joined by a knot. Which type of line floats? Polypropylene. Which of the following statements is true concerning small oil spills? They may cause serious pollution as the effect tends to be cumulative. A figure 8 knot is used to blank. Be a stopper. When the handle of an all-purpose nozzle is in the forward position, the nozzle will blank. Shut off the water. Which statement concerning satellite EPIRBs is true? Once activated, these EPIRBs continuously send up a signal for use in identifying the vessel and for determining the position of the beacon. An aluminum powder fire is classified as Class blank. Class D. Which type of marine sanitation device is used solely for the storage of sewage and flush water at ambient air pressure and temperature? Type 3. Convection spreads a fire by blank. Heated gases flowing through ventilation systems. All VHF marine band radios operate in the simplex mode, which means that blank. Only one person may talk at a time. How do you operate a portable CO2 fire extinguisher? Pull pin, squeeze grip. If you find an inflatable life raft container with steel bands around the case, you should blank. Leave the bands in place. Which vessel is required to carry a Category I 406 MHz emergency position indicating radio beacon? A vessel operating on the high seas or beyond 3 miles from the coastline of the Great Lakes. A common occurrence when a vessel is running into shallow water is that blank. Squat will cause a decrease in bottom clearance and an increase in draft. Foam is a very effective smothering agent and blank. It provides cooling as a secondary effect. The splice designed to pass easily through a block is called a blank. Long splice. The whipping found on a fiber line blank. Keep the line from fraying. If a gasoline engine turns over freely but will not start, the cause is generally blank. A defective ignition system. Before using a fixed CO2 system to fight an engine room fire, you must blank. Secure the machinery in the engine room. A twin-screw vessel is easier to maneuver than a single-screw vessel because the twin-screw vessel blank can turn without using a rudder. Nylon line can be dangerous because it blank stretches. Spontaneous combustion is caused by blank chemical action within a substance. Each crew member has an assigned firefighting station. This assignment is shown on the blank muster list. Which radiotelephone transmission may be sent over channel 16? Distress signal Mayday. How does the effect known as bank suction affect a single-screw vessel proceeding along a narrow channel? It pulls the stern toward the bank. All of the following are part of the fire triangle except blank. Electricity. The radiotelephone safety signal is blank. Securite repeated 3 times. In a Williamson turn, the rudder is put over full until the blank vessel has turned 60 degrees from her original course. Fire extinguishers are numbered by size I through V, with I being blank, the smallest. On inflatable life rafts, the operating cord should be renewed by blank. Unapproved servicing facility ashore. Except in rare cases, it is impossible to extinguish a shipboard fire by blank. Removing the fuel. What is the most vulnerable part of the fire main system? The fire hose. Which statement are true concerning life preservers? Life preservers are designed to turn an unconscious person's face clear of the water. Which action is routinely performed at the annual servicing and inspection of a dry chemical cartridge-operated portable fire extinguisher? Weigh the cartridge. The life-saving equipment on all vessels shall be blank. Readily accessible. A new life raft has been installed on your vessel. The operating cord should be blank. Attached to the raft stowage cradle or to a secure object nearby with a weak link. Gasoline tanks should be filled blank. To near the top with some space allowed for gasoline expansion. How many distress flares are uninspected passenger vessels required to carry? 3 rocket parachute red day-night flares. A galley grease fire would be classified as which class of fire? Class B. What device prevents an inflatable life raft from being pulled under by a vessel which sinks in water over 100 feet in depth? The weak link in the painter line. Which statement describes the primary process by which fires are extinguished by dry chemical? The dry chemical powder attacks the fuel and oxygen chain reaction. Your vessel is dead in the water with the rudder amidships. As the right-handed screw starts to turn ahead, the bow will tend to go blank. To port. Fire hose couplings blank. Are made of bronze, brass, or soft alloy metals. The EPIRB on board your vessel is required to be tested blank. Monthly. When can a lookout leave their duty station? When properly relieved. A wedge of water building up between the bow and nearer bank which forces the bow out and away describes blank. Bank cushion. Which extinguishing agent below will absorb the most heat? Water. What should be your first action if you discover a fire aboard ship? Sound the alarm. Generally speaking, the fuel injected into a marine diesel engine combustion chamber is ignited by blank. Heat of compression. A fire in a pile of linen is a class blank. Class A. Chafing gear should be placed blank. At all wearing points of mooring lines. A person who sees someone fall overboard should blank. Call for help and keep the individual inside. Which VHF channel should you avoid using as a working channel? 16. What is not provided with an inflatable life raft blank? GPS receiver. The National Weather Service differentiates between small craft, gale, whole gale, and hurricane warnings by the blank. Wind speed forecasted. Removing which element will extinguish a fire? Oxygen. Which statement is true concerning gasoline vapors on board a vessel? They are heavier than air and will settle in the lowest part of the vessel. To launch a life raft by hand you should blank. Throw the life raft over the side and pull the operating cord. The most important characteristic of the extinguishing agent in fighting a Class C fire is blank. Electrical non-conductivity. During a Coast Guard inspection, all carbon dioxide fire extinguishers aboard will be blank. Weighed. What categories are fires grouped into? Class A, B, C, and D. Size I and II extinguishers are designated as blank. Portable. Ventilation systems connected to a compartment that a fire is burning in are normally closed to prevent the rapid spread of the fire by blank. Convection. Ventilation systems connected to a compartment in which a fire is burning are closed to prevent the rapid spread of the fire by blank. Convection. Fire extinguishers are numbered by size I through V, with I being blank. The smallest. All approved portable fire extinguishers must be capable of being blank. Carried by hand to a fire. A squeeze grip type carbon dioxide portable fire extinguisher has been partially discharged. It must blank. Labeled empty and recharged as soon as possible. When fighting an oil or gasoline fire down in the bilge, which of the following should not be used? Solid stream of water. Which of the statement below describes the primary process by which fires are extinguished by dry chemical? The dry chemical powder extinguishes the flames by breaking the combustion chain. Dry chemical extinguishers may be used on which classification of fires? B or C class fires. Which method of heat transmission does not require physical contact for fire to be spread between decks, bulkheads, or other surfaces? Radiation. What primary hazard other than fire damage is associated with a Class C fire? Electrocution or shock. Foam effectively extinguishes a fire mainly by blank. Smothering. Shipboard fire hose couplings blank. Are made of bronze, brass, or soft alloy metals. All of the following are part of the fire triangle except blank. Electricity. Removing which element below will extinguish a fire? Oxygen. Fixed CO2 systems would not be used on cruise quarters or blank. Spaces open to the atmosphere. You can determine that a carbon dioxide fire extinguisher is fully charged by blank. Weighing on a properly calibrated scale. The straight stream setting of an all-purpose nozzle is used in fighting a Class A fire to blank. Breakup burning material. The spread of fire is prevented by blank. Cooling surfaces adjacent to the fire. When discharging a portable carbon dioxide fire extinguisher, you should not hold the horn of the extinguisher because the horn blank becomes extremely cold. A fire in the trash is made up of paper waste. What class fire is this? A. The most effective cooling agent used to fight fires is blank. Water fog or spray. The disadvantage of using CO2 is at the blank. CO2 does not cool the fire. In addition to the heat, fuel, and oxygen, what is required to have fire? Chain reaction. Which condition can cause spontaneous combustion? A chemical action within a substance. Which fire extinguishing agent will absorb the most heat? Water. A fire hose with a nozzle attached must be connected to each hydrant except when exposed to heavy weather or when the blank fire hose might be damaged by cargo operations. The shutoff valve at the gasoline tank, which can be operated from outside the tank space, shuts off the gasoline supply at the tank. Gasoline tanks should be filled to near the top with some space allowed for gasoline expansion. Your vessel has a gasoline engine and a mechanical exhaust ventilation system. Before starting the engine, the exhaust blower should be run long enough to blank Ensure at least one complete change of air in the compartments concerned. On most vessels, gasoline fumes tend to blank. Settle near the bottom of the bilge. When troubleshooting the cause of a gasoline engine's failure to start, you should blank. Check the battery, spark plugs, carburetor, and fuel line. In general, the fuel injected into a marine diesel engine combustion chamber is ignited by blank. Heat of compression. If a gasoline engine turns over freely but will not start, the cause is generally a defective ignition system. How should the exhaust of a properly operating diesel engine appear? Clear. When fueling, your vessel has been completed blank. All hatches should be opened and all compartments should be ventilated. While fueling, the nozzle of a gasoline hose or can should be kept blank. In contact with the fill opening to guard against static spark. A Coast Guard radio telephone message about an aid to navigation that is off station is preceded by the word blank. Security. You have just called another vessel on the VHF and they have not replied. How long should you wait before calling that station again? 2 minutes. Which of the choices below is most likely to be affected by atmospheric disturbances? MFHF radio telephone. A radio telephone safety message urgently concerned with safety of a person would start with the word blank. Pan. All VHF marine band radios operate in the simplex mode, which means that only one person may talk at a time. The VHF frequency designated to be used only to transmit or receive information pertaining to the safe navigation of a vessel is blank. 156.65 MHz. What is the minimum size power-driven vessel that is not engaged in towing required to comply with the vessel bridge-to-bridge radio telephone regulations? 20 meters. If you wish to transmit a message by voice concerning the safety of navigation, you would preface it by the word "Seek your right." A call is received from the U.S. Coast Guard addressed to all stations. The call begins with the words pan. Which type of emergency signal would this be? Urgency signal. Which vessels must comply with the vessel bridge-to-bridge radiophone regulations while underway? Passenger vessels of 100 gross tons or greater carrying one or more passengers for hire while navigating. The national distress, safety, and calling frequency is channel blank. 16. The reception of weak radio signals may be improved by opening up the squelch control. What is the normal setting of the squelch control? Adjust the squelch control until the noise can be heard, then adjust it slightly in the opposite direction until the noise stops. The height of a VHF radio antenna is more important than the power output of the radio because blank. VHF communications are basically line of sight. What word is used as an international distress signal when transmitted by radio telephone? Mayday. During radio telephone communications, the prefix PAN indicates that blank. A calling station has an urgent message about the safety of a person. Which USCG-approved life-saving device is required for each person on board a power-driven vessel carrying passengers? Life jacket. Which vessel is required to carry on board a Category I 406 MHz EPIRB? A vessel operating on the high seas or beyond 3 miles from the coastline of the Great Lakes. Which statement is true concerning Type I personal flotation devices? Life preservers are designed to turn an unconscious person's face clear of the water. An USCG-approved immersion suite must be equipped with a blank. Whistle, light and retroreflective material. While underway, an inflatable life raft is thrown into the water from a sinking vessel. What occurs automatically after the painter trips the CO2 bottles to inflate the raft? The sea anchor deploys. Every life jacket light that has a non-replaceable powder source must be replaced blank on or before the expiration date of the power source. Every vessel that operates on the high seas or beyond 3 miles from the coastline of the Great Lakes must carry a Category I 406 MHz EPIRB that blank will float free and clear of the sinking vessel and automatically activate. The master in charge of the vessel shall ensure that the emergency position indicating radio beacon is blank. Tested model. Approved inflatable life rafts carried on passenger vessels must be annually blank sent to a Coast Guard approved service facility. Traditionally, the emergency signal for fire aboard ship is blank. Continuous sounding of the ship's whistle and the general alarm for at least 10 seconds. While reviewing the muster list for your vessel, you see that 3 short blasts on the whistle and 3 short rings on the general alarm bells is the signal for blank dismissal from fire and emergency stations. Which statement below is true about an approved immersion suit? The suit must, without assistance, turn an unconscious person's mouth clear of water within 5 seconds. On an approved inflatable life raft, the knife will always be located blank in a special pocket near the forward entrance. What does the acronym EPIRB stand for? Emergency Position Indicating Radio Beacon. The lights on the outside of the canopy on an inflatable life raft operate blank automatically when the raft is inflated. While on watch, you find an inflatable life raft container with steel bands around the case, you should blank leave the bands in place. A life raft has been installed on your vessel, the operating cord should be blank attached to the raft stowage cradle or to a secure object nearby with a float-free link. When will the float-free EPIRB be activated after abandoning ship? Immediately after floating free. By regulation, life preservers aboard an uninspected passenger vessel must be blank readily accessible. What safety device prevents an inflatable life raft from being pulled under by a vessel which sinks in water over 100 feet in depth? The weak link in the sea painter line. MARPOL regulations require that garbage discharged from vessels that are located between 3 and 12 nautical miles from the nearest land must be ground to less than 1 inch. Which marine sanitation device is used solely for the storage of sewage and flush water at ambient air pressure and temperature? Type 3. How is the person in charge of the operation of a vessel required to keep the crew informed of the regulations concerning the discharging of garbage overboard? Keep placards prominently posted. The MARPOL Treaty defines requirements pertaining to the discharge into the marine environment of blank garbage. If oil is accidentally discharged into the water, what should you do after reporting the discharge? Contain the oil and remove as much of it as possible from the water. Oil spills must be reported to the blank U.S. Coast Guard National Response Center. Which statement below is true concerning small oil spills? They may cause serious pollution as the effect tends to be cumulative. Most minor oil spills are caused by blank human error. Your vessel is required to have a waste management plan. This plan must be in writing and describe procedures for blank collecting and discharging garbage. If you do not notify the Coast Guard of an oil spill, you may be imprisoned up to blank 5 years. You are operating on inland waters of the United States. You may discharge overboard blank It is illegal to dump waste on inland waterways. Regardless of local regulations, when in a U.S. port, all oil spills must be reported to the blank. National Response Center. When may plastic material be discharged into the marine environment from a vessel? Discharging plastics is prohibited. While taking on fuel you notice oil on the water near your vessel, you should first blank. Stop fueling. When cleaning up an oil spill, straw is an example of a blank. Sorbent. The difference between the heights of low and high tide is the range. What information does the outer ring of a compass rose on a nautical chart provide? True directions. Which buoy below may be odd-numbered? Unlighted buoy. What do you need to apply to a fathometer reading to determine the actual depth of water? Add the draft of the vessel. If you see several fixed navigational lights that are visible at the same time, each one may be positively identified by checking all of the following except what against the light list? Intensity. The datum used for soundings on charts covering the east coast of the United States is blank. Mean low water. Your vessel is aground in soft mud. You would have the best chance of refloating it on the next tide if it grounded at blank. Low water spring. The time required for a lighted A to complete a full cycle of light changes is listed in the light list as blank. Period. The best method to stop a vessel from dragging anchor in a sand bottom is to blank. Pay out more anchor cable. How many high water tides usually occur each day on the east coast of the United States? 2. A light that has a light period shorter than its dark period is described as blank. Flashing. Using the U.S. Aids to Navigation System, red and green horizontally banded buoys mark junctions or bifurcation. What color light would a non-buoy display at night? Red. The period of a lighted A to navigation refers to the blank. Time required for the light to complete each cycle. While underway you observe a buoy off station, you should blank. Immediately contact the nearest Coast Guard office by radiophone. What are the defined characteristics of an isophase light? 1 second flash, 1 second eclipse. Private aids to navigation used in or along navigable waters of the United States may be listed in the blank. Light list. The light rhythm of Morse is shown on what type of buoy? Safe water buoys. Preferred channel buoys indicate the preferred channel to transit by blank. The color of their top band. The difference in degrees between magnetic north and true north is known as blank. Variation. When using a Mercator chart, 1 nautical mile is equal to blank. 1 minute of latitude. In the U.S. Aids to Navigation System, a non-buoy will blank. Have an even number. The 4 standard light colors used for aids to navigation that are lighted are red, green, white, and blank. Yellow. The red sectors of navigational lights warn mariners of blank. Shoals or nearby land. To safely anchor a vessel there must be sufficient scope in the anchor cable. Scope is the ratio of length of cable to depth of water. What would give the best freighter echo? 600-foot freighter, beam on. Which of the following terms refer to the direction a current is flowing? Set. By paying out more anchor cable, you increase the holding power of your anchor. The term flood current refers to that period of time when the water blank is flowing towards land. The lover's line on a magnetic compass indicates the direction in which the boat's bow is heading.